Elena Marsh had been running for 3 days. Her feet were torn from walking through forests without shoes. Her stomach had stopped growling hours ago, and now just felt hollow and tight. She had not slept in a real bed since she left her father's house, and every time she closed her eyes, even for a moment, she saw the face of the man she was supposed to marry. She did not know exactly where she was anymore. She only knew that she had crossed into new territory sometime after sunset, territory that smelled different from her own, cleaner somehow, wilder. She was too tired to be afraid of what that might mean. She only wanted somewhere dark and dry to rest before she had to start walking again. That was when she saw the barn. It stood at the edge of a wide pasture, old wood gone silver with age, a loft window half open at the top, like a mouth caught mid-yawn. There were no lights nearby, no sounds of dogs or people. Elena slipped inside through a gap in the side door and climbed the ladder to the loft on legs that shook with every step. She found a deep pile of hay pushed into the corner and burrowed into it the way a frightened animal might, pulling loose straw over herself for warmth and cover. Within minutes, she was asleep. She did not know that the land she had wandered onto belonged to Cale Voss, the alpha king of the Voss pack, one of the strongest and most respected packs in the region. She did not know that the barn she had chosen to hide in sat only a short walk from his own home. And she certainly did not know that come morning, her whole life was about to change. Cale woke before dawn, as he always did. There was a mare in the barn close to giving birth to her first foal, and he liked to check on her himself, rather than leave it entirely to the stable hands. He walked the familiar path across the dew-heavy grass with his hands in his coat pockets, his mind still half asleep, thinking of nothing more important than whether the foal would come today or tomorrow. Then he stepped through the barn door, and every thought in his head went silent. A scent hit him first, unfamiliar and faint, carried down from the loft above. Underneath the fear and the exhaustion woven through it, there was something else, something that made his chest tighten in a way he had never felt before. His wolf, usually a quiet and steady presence at the back of his mind, surged forward so suddenly that Cale had to grip the ladder rail to steady himself. He climbed up slowly, expecting to find an intruder, perhaps a thief, perhaps a scout from a rival pack. What he found instead was a young woman curled into the hay, so small and so still that for one terrible second he thought she might not be breathing. Bruises had bloomed dark along her jaw. Her wrist was wrapped in a strip of torn fabric, tied clumsily, the kind of bandage someone makes for themselves when there is no one else to help them. His wolf spoke 4 words into his mind, clear and certain. "Your mate is here." Cale did not move for a long moment. He had heard stories of this happening to other alphas, the sudden, unmistakable knowing, but he had never expected it to happen to him in a dusty barn loft, looking down at a stranger who flinched even in her sleep. He crouched down at a careful distance, giving her plenty of space, and spoke in the gentlest voice he had. "You're safe," he said. "I won't hurt you." Her eyes flew open. For a moment she looked at him, the way a trapped animal looks at anything that moves, ready to bolt or fight, whichever her body decided first. Cale stayed exactly where he was, palms open, his voice low and even. "My name is Cale," he said. "This is my land. You're not in trouble. I just want to know your name, if you're willing to tell me." It took a long time before she answered, long enough that Cale's knees began to ache from crouching so still. But something about the way he held himself, calm instead of threatening, patient instead of demanding, made her decide, finally, that she could risk a few words. "Elena," she whispered. He did not push for more. He simply nodded, as if her name alone was enough for now, and asked if she was hungry. She did not answer, but her stomach did, growling loudly enough that they both heard it. For the first time since he had climbed the ladder, something like the ghost of a smile crossed her face. Over the next hour, in small, careful pieces, Cale learned her story. She had come from the Ashford pack, 2 territories away. Her father, eager to strengthen ties with a powerful Beta family, had promised her in marriage to a man twice her age, a man known even outside his own pack for his temper and his cruelty. When Elena refused, the answer had not been discussion. It had been the bruises she now carried. She had run because staying meant a lifetime of that, or worse. She had no pack protection anymore. No papers, nothing but the clothes she wore, and the fear that had carried her for 3 days straight. Cale listened without interrupting, and when she finished, he did not tell her about his wolf, or about the words it had spoken the moment he found her. It did not feel like the right time. Instead, he simply said, "You can stay here. No one will touch you while you're under my protection." He brought her to the main house that same morning, ignoring the surprised looks of the staff and the quiet concern of his advisors, who all knew that bringing an unclaimed Omega inside pack walls without explanation was unusual, to say the least. Cale did not explain himself to them either. He gave Elena a room with a door that locked from the inside, food enough for 3 meals a day, and something she had not had in longer than she could remember, time, with no one demanding anything of her. For a few days, it seemed the world might leave her alone. Then word arrived, as word always does in shifter territory, faster than anyone wanted it to. The Ashford pack learned where Elena had gone, and within a week, an envoy arrived at the Voss border, demanding her immediate return. According to Ashford law, she was still pack property, promised in marriage, and no other pack had the right to shelter her without consequence. Cale's council met that evening, voices low and tense behind the closed study door. Elena, walking past on her way to the kitchen, heard enough to understand what was being discussed. Some advisors argued that Elena had no bloodline value worth the risk of conflict with another pack. Others warned that refusing Ashford's demand could mean war, and asked whether one frightened stranger was worth that price. Elena did not wait to hear the rest. She went back to her room, gathered the few belongings she had been given, and decided that she would not let a king go to war over her. She would slip out that night the same way she had slipped into his territory, and disappear before anyone noticed she was gone. She made it as far as the stable gate. Cale found her there under a sky full of stars, one hand resting on the latch, ready to run again into the dark. His wolf had been pacing beneath his skin all evening, restless in a way it had never been before, and the moment he saw her at the gate, he understood why. "Elena," he said quietly, and she froze, caught. "I have to go," she said, not turning around. "I heard them talking. I won't let you fight a war because of me. I'm not worth that." "You don't get to decide that for me," Cale said, walking closer, slow enough not to startle her. "And you're wrong about what you're worth. You've been wrong about that for a long time, I think, long before you ever met me." She turned then, and in the moonlight he could see the exhaustion and fear still living in her eyes, along with something new, something that looked almost like hope, and almost like disbelief that hope was even allowed. Cale took a breath and told her the truth he had been carrying since the morning he found her in the hay. "The first moment I saw you in that loft, my wolf spoke to me," he said. "It only said 4 words, 'Your mate is here.' I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to feel like you owed me anything, or like you had to stay because of something neither of us chose. I'm not telling you now because I want you to feel trapped either. I'm telling you because you deserve to know the truth, and because whatever you decide, mate or not, you never have to run from anyone again. Not while I'm standing here." For a long moment, Elena said nothing at all. Then, quietly, she asked, "Even if I say no?" "Even then," Cale said, "you'll still have a home here. You'll still have protection. That was true before my wolf ever said a word." Something in her shoulders loosened, as if a weight she had carried for 3 days, maybe for years, had finally been set down, even if only a little. She did not give him an answer that night, but she did not run either. She walked back toward the house beside him, and that, for now, was enough. The Ashford envoy returned 3 days later, this time with armed betas standing at the property line, their message clear even before a single word was spoken. They wanted Elena returned by nightfall, or they would consider it a challenge to Ashford's honor. Cale walked out to meet them, not as a king defending his territory, but as a mate defending his own. His wolf sat close beneath the surface, visible in the set of his jaw and the steadiness of his stare, though he kept his voice level and his manner controlled. Elena, rather than hiding in the house as she once might have, walked out beside him. She was no longer the girl who had once curled into a pile of hay, hoping to disappear. She stood with her spine straight and her chin level, choosing, for the first time in a long while, exactly where she wanted to stand. The Ashford Alpha's representative repeated his demand. Cale answered with a single sentence, spoken clearly enough for every witness present to hear. She is my mate, claimed under mate right, and no pack law stands above that one. Mate right was old law, older than marriage promises, older than family debts, and every pack, including Ashford, was bound to honor it. The envoy's face shifted from confidence to uncertainty. He had come prepared for a fight over property. He had not come prepared for a claim no council could override. After a long, tense silence, the envoy turned and left, taking his betas with him. No war came, no blood was spilled. The threat that had followed Elena for weeks simply dissolved into the evening air, leaving behind only quiet. That night, Cale led Elena back to the barn where it had all begun. The mare's foal had been born a few days earlier, and it stood now on wobbly legs beside its mother, nosing curiously at the hay. Elena laughed softly at the sight, a real laugh, the first Cale had heard from her. He turned to her then, in the same loft where his wolf had first spoken those 4 words, and asked her properly this time, not as instinct, but as his own choice, freely made. "Will you stay?" he asked. "Not because of what my wolf said, because of what I'm asking now." Elena looked at him for a long moment, at the barn that had once been her hiding place, and had somehow become the place where everything changed. Then she smiled, and said yes. The Voss pack gained a queen that night, one who had once had nowhere left to run, and who had finally found somewhere worth staying.